Hello darlings, welcome back to Misabled Cooking, and today we are making my mom's chocolate chip cookies. We're only doing a half batch, but these are so good. I absolutely adore them. I hope you enjoy them as well. First you need 1 cup of shortening. I'm using a pre-measured butter flavored shortening, 1 cup brown sugar, half a cup of white sugar, 2 1/4 cups flour, just all-purpose flour. It doesn't have to be anything special. 1 teaspoon of salt and 1 teaspoon of baking soda. Also 1 teaspoon of vanilla. And 2 eggs. And I decided to do a jig with the eggs. I don't know. And enough chocolate chips to fill the void in your heart, which it takes a lot for me, so about 4 cups. Alright, first off we're gonna put the shortening in our mixing bowl. You can absolutely measure out the shortening yourself and just get a big tub. It's a lot more cost effective as well, but I only use the butter shortening for cookies. And I kind of hate measuring out shortening, so I get the pre-measured just for the cookies. And butter flavored or not is totally up to you. I think it adds a lot of flavor, but that's entirely your choice. Add in both of the sugars. And then if you're using a mixer, put the mixing bowl in securely. Make sure that it's, it's sturdy. I've made that mistake before. I have a lovely paddle that has these scraper sides on it. That means I don't have to use a spatula to scrape the edges. If you have a regular paddle, that's perfectly fine. Just make sure that the edges get scraped so that nothing gets, gets left out, I guess, if you will. I'm putting that on medium-high. We want to incorporate a lot of air bubbles into that shortening. And then while that's going, I'm going to put the soda and the salt in with the flour. Just mix it lightly. It doesn't have to be like completely incorporated, but well enough mixed that it's in there. Set that aside for later. I'm gonna check on my flour, and once it's all well mixed in there, I'm just gonna pop my head in and make sure, and you can kind of see that it's a bit clunky, but it's still well mixed in. I'm gonna put in the vanilla, and then that will actually add enough liquid to it that it'll get nice and fluffy, and as you can see here, that's the consistency and how you want it to look like, is that it adds a lot of air, and that makes the cookies a lot smoother and nicer to eat. So you just want to, this is called the creaming method, so you want to cream that well. And then once it's well mixed and you get that light aeration, you're going to mix in the eggs one at a time. And I started to do it on the side and realized, oh, you guys can't see that. Sorry. So we're switching it over to my left hand. And then just, as I said, one at a time, just because there is a small chance that this could curdle if you add the eggs in too fast. So you want to do them slowly so that they can incorporate well and you can get a good mixture without that curdling. And once that is all well mixed in, I'm going to turn it down to low, as slow as it will go, because we're adding the flour, and you don't want, if you go fast, it's going to add it poof up into the air. And I'm only doing installments of 3. I'm not putting it all in at once, just so that it can mix everything together before I add more. This will also help prevent having a explosion of flour. So once it's all mixed in, I'm just keeping an eye on it and then finally putting in that last installment. And once that's all well mixed together, last and least is the best part, the chocolate chips. And I'm just gonna up the ante here a bit just so that it goes in. Once it's mostly moistened, you can have it going quicker. It's just at first you want to keep it low. And then I'm going to add in the chocolate chips and sneak one for myself. It is escapade, but nope, mine. And you don't need to mix this for very long, just enough that the chocolate chips are throughout the mixture. If you're someone who likes to eat cookie dough, despite obviously there are some health risks of salmonella, but if you like to take that risk, you don't have to be as careful as I was to get everything off of the paddle. You can set that aside for your own snacking later. But if not, then I just made sure to get everything off the paddle. I could have gotten a spatula to make things easier, but by banging it on the side, it's one less thing to clean. And yes, I'm that lazy. So I have a parchment paper lined baking sheets, and then this is, I believe I measured it out to be 2 tablespoons, I think is what that is, of a ice cream scoop or disher, whichever you wish to call it. And I'm just gonna fill that with the cookie dough, scrape it on the edge so that there's an even base, and then plop it down on there. This is how I make nice round cookies. And I usually go 3x4. This first batch I'm going slow just to show you how to do it. Those little frills along the edges there, you can see, those don't matter. They'll get incorporated into the cookie because these are going to spread. So you want to put at least like 1 to 2 inches between them to give them room to spread. But it also means you don't need to be careful about the side things because those will get incorporated. And as you can see here, I kind of like to make my base for my grid. I do the top and the bottom first, and then I just have a guide as to where to put the next ones. For me, it makes sense, and it makes it easier on placement of where they go, and it makes it so I'm more even as to placement. Using the disher, it does take, you have to scoop it and squeeze it with your hand, but there are other ones that are a little bit more, or a little bit easier to use if you have a hard time with the squeezing motion with your wrists. Or you can use 2 spoons. You can scoop it up with a spoon and then scrape it out with another spoon. Once you get that first tray done, we are going to bake these at 375 for 8 to 10 minutes. While that first tray is going, just go ahead and dish out the rest of the dough. At this point, if you wanted to, you could actually freeze these balls. So put them on the baking sheet like this and then put them in the freezer until they're frozen solid, and then you can put them in a Ziploc and have them ready whenever you want. With the last dish, I guess you will, just spread them out evenly. So like I said, it's going to bake at 375 for 8 to 10 minutes. If your oven has a history of cooking unevenly, halfway through, turn the tray around. So you just pull it out, turn it around, and put it back in for more even cooking. And when you take these out, they're not going to look done. And that's something that I want to emphasize. They will not look done. You'll see a little bit of browning along the top, and that's exactly what you want. That's when you take them out. I'm kind of pointing out here. It's hard to see in the lighting, I apologize. But leave them to cool on the tray, and then once they're cool, you can take them off. And here are these delicious cookies. They're super soft and just absolutely delightful. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. My link to the Patreon is down in the comments below, and I just want to say thank you again and love you.